Good morning. Today is the 11th of January 2024 and I'm going to go through my levels for today. On my screen we've got the MES or the S&P index futures, a 1 hour time frame. One of the levels, and before I start, let's look at the economic calendar for today. We've had CPI and that's the main news today, 8:30, and we've got some news coming up at Fed speaking at 12:40, and just be aware of bond auctions at 1, and there's news at 2 as well. So in the this afternoon we've got news coming up. So back on to the ES or the MES chart. One of the levels I was watching, which is the level on watch from yesterday, is already triggered today. We had this big CPI sell-off on the news and came straight into the level which I already had waiting for a bounce. So that's probably off the table now. Not sure how good it would be for the second bounce down here. If we come back down to that area for a double bottom, it probably would be a higher risk, maybe treat it as a scalp if we come back in. But that area is still in, and I'm just going to reset the alert for that level. Just go yellow. So that's reset now, that alert. Okay, so I've got a reject area as well, which will be the top of this area of supply, and probably around where that trend line is coming in at 48.35 for rejection. So we've got the bounce at 48.03.50 and 48.35 for rejection. They're the two main areas I'm watching today. We can get rid of that now, we don't need it, that was from yesterday. And then if we do see a bit of a sell-off and we break down below this 50 moving average, then I quite like a bounce around here still. And again, these are levels from yesterday, and that's a bounce off the 200 moving average. And zoom out a bit, let's have a look. That's better. So that's a bounce off the 200 moving average around here, 47.83, and it's an area of confidence as well, where we've kind of come into this area. We had bottoms, let's just change that. So we had bottoms of candles, and we had a bit of consolidation and bottoms of candles. We came in, kind of, haven't really tested as much, but it's kind of an area of volume as well. So if I were to find a better, and I've only got the level there because we had the pivot from a few days ago, and it's the 200. But that's I wouldn't say it's a higher probability, it's more of a higher risk bounce. So we've got a higher risk bounce the second time round here, higher risk bounce at 47.83, and then the bounce I'm really waiting for will be this one coming on 47.60. So if we get down to there, I'll be looking to get that bounce, and I will be waiting for I'll have an order in place down here ready for it to come in, and if it comes back out, I'll take another contract coming out, and then if it retests it, I'll take another one as well. So I'm looking for an add. So this is the area, big area of supply, of demand as well from what's that, the 20th December, and so big reaction last time it was down there, and when we came down we kind of tested it a few times, broke down, came back up, tested it again there, and we've not yet been back to see what happens. So the first touch of this area is what I'm looking for, and that's it really. All-time highs is 48, 41, 50. So all of this area up here we can wait for a rejection, and I think that's it. There's not many great levels really. We'll see how today plays out. We've got news tomorrow as well. Is it PPI? So tomorrow may be a bit of a moving day as well, but we're looking pretty negative today on that CPI print. And so if we can break down through the 50, I'll be looking to find some shorts to continue to trend down. And if we stay on this 50, I may look for a scalp for a bounce to take it back up again. Okay, that's it really. So let's look at SPY. All-time highs, not quite there yet, so still got some unfinished business. So whether the market does want to come up to this area or not, I don't know. But 480 is a big rejection area, so that's an area I'm watching for on SPY. We've got this area of supply, 477, so that's our rejection area. So we pushed through it once and we came back out again twice actually, and that's pre-market. So let's see if I can find a better level. Again, I don't really like it as it is at the moment. I'm looking at previous pivots, but I prefer to use more recent pivots, and I think I'll leave that there. So leave that 475 for a bounce, and I'll try and, I think there. Oh. And then 477.71 for a rejection. No, that we have got, we've just come out of the area of demand as well. But bounce wise, I really like 470 for bounce, and that's some way off, but it's not impossible to get down there today. And we've got the point of control down there as well, which is this orange line, so that acts as natural resistance support as well. So this is kind of the area I really want to go long on, and we haven't quite hit that area yet as well, so potentially 475 as a bounce on SPY, and maybe if it bounces down on SPY I may go back to MES and look for a bounce. So SPY, yeah, that's it really. Let's look at Qs next. So Qs, we've got this point of control here, the volume comes in, quite a bit of volume, and we've got tops of candles as well, so an area of confluence as well, weighted there. We kind of hover, so I'm going to use this area for a bounce area. Happens to be the 50 moving average coming up into it as well. So 406.50 for a bounce, and a rejection will be there, 411.63. And in fact this area is a area of supply, so that's the area I'm looking for rejection. Quite simple today on that one. And if we break below the 50, we can be looking for shorts to kind of fill the gap back down. Potentially have this area here, 403 for a bounce, and we also have this area I'm watching, same on ES and SPY, 400 to 399.50 basically. So we could bounce here, or we could bounce down here. They're the areas to watch. Nasdaq. It's a big sell-off candle, isn't it? So what are we on 5 minutes? Go back to the hourly. Okay, basically where it was earlier. That's the place to watch, but we've touched it already. So the next area down will be 16,760. If we come into this area for a bounce, it'll be coming off the downward 200 moving average. We're also watching 16,565 for the bounce off of this pivot area of congestion, and that's it. And then rejection wise, going to be back up to these levels, so 17,104, 1 to 120, this area for rejection. The volume point of control is up here as well, so that orange line. So if we come up to there, I'll be looking for rejection as well. Looking at oil, how much? Okay, so we're now, yesterday we were, where were we yesterday? We were up here, looking quite strong at the time, and it sold off. And now we're back up below, above the 50 and the 200, so still looking strong. It looks like we're having a bit of a squeeze here as well, and a bit of a bull flag setting up. So we could potentially watch for the breakout over 73. With a possible target of 74, so that's an area to watch. It's getting close to it now. I prefer a break and retest of that area, so it's not so fully extended as it breaks out. And if we come back down and you get below this area, it's below 71.20 for potential short, but we have got a lot of resistance to the right, but not much volume, so potentially we could get back down to these levels, so 70 to 69.50. However, I prefer 74, this area here, for the breakout, and we've kind of been touching it, almost touched it there, and you know, how many times do we want to be knocking on the door before we finally break out through it? And so I'll be waiting for a break and retest of this level. Make sure my alert's on. So I've got my alert on that level. I may just bring it in a little tiny bit. There, so it's more central. So 73.87 to 74 for a breakout, or a break and retest is what I'll be looking for. Gold. Look at these levels. So these levels are been there for a while. Look at that, come in, absolutely touched it on the CPI today. Just there. It's a bit like the levels on MES where it came in, touched it on these levels from yesterday. So it shows that they're important levels to keep an eye on. So we've got 20.56 for a rejection. And then let's just give us some. Still in a downtrend on the hourly, and we're kind of in this zone now, so potentially we're looking for the break below 2030, the break below 2030 to 2027, and we could look to fill this gap area down to this level at 2014. So rejection if it goes below, or look for a long back up to this area if we're above. But we have got a bit of volume to the left, got this area here, and this is a point of control, so it could be a good out, but I would look at that more as a area, because I like to take the first few bars of the point of control. Ooh. So it'll be that entire area there. So potentially look to get out at 2048 if you're long. Ooh. So we can get long here, break and retest out at 2048, coming into the 200 moving average. That's a potential target, and that's a high risk play. So not much on gold at the moment. Russell 2000 index futures. So this is now not relevant. So look at that. So kind of just touching these areas down here. So let's just put a level in. We've got this level, yeah, I think a rejection off the 200 if we get up there. We've already rejected it once and twice, so it won't be a very higher probability, more of a higher risk rejection. Third time lucky maybe. If not, look for the break and retest if we can hold it above the 200 moving average. And then as it's in a downtrend and this is potentially a flag setting up, it's probably higher, more probable that we're going to break down. So anything below 1965, we can look for a break and retest. But we have got a little bit of support to the left here, so potentially we've got a target, but then we've got this big void to fill below. If we can get below that, there's not much volume on that pivot. So anything below 1965, try and find for a break and retest into that level for the short down to 1905. That's all I can see really, or the break above this area. And then I've got one more, the Dow Jones. Nice, I like the bounce there. So the bounce has already happened. All the moving averages are moving close together as well. Break below pre-market on that one, break and retest pre-market lows into this point of control, but there's quite a lot of volume in this area. It's not something I've been looking at much, but there's loads of volume, so it's going to be quite a difficult one to trade. There's plenty of volume in that area. And if we break over 38,000, 38,40, 38,040, then we can look for a break and retest long with a possible target of that pivot there, which is 38,112. And that's all-time highs, I believe. Yep, so that's it really. They're the plays. Just a couple more I've added on recently. Just keep an eye on them. I'm not trading them yet, but I'm just watching them and learning how they move. So let's have a look at MES. I was toying with the idea of having an order down here for when the CPI came in, and I didn't because it moves quite a lot, but it was a good area for a bounce, and you can see that perfect bounce. Coming into this trend line now, this trend line's probably not valid now as well. I was getting rid of that because that's more distracting. We put the trend line there instead. That looks a bit better. So kind of a trend line bounce down here. I'll leave that for now. So basically we're looking for a rejection of today's low, maybe a break and retest of that trend line down. Or I'm looking for a high risk rejection off of that level, that hover line, or a break of retest long. But then if we break all-time highs, keep an eye on SPY because that's heading towards all-time highs, and this yellow line, and maybe we'll be watching for a rejection up here. And that's it really. Not brilliant levels today, but levels we can keep an eye on. If there's no trade, there's no trade. But I'll be watching for a scalp bounce down here and rejection up here, and if it doesn't hold its levels, breaks through, especially if it breaks down below here, I'll be looking to try and find a short and maybe a break and retest back down. Okay.